Hello everyone, Mike Ferris here, and I'm in the living room today because this is my PlayStation 3 retrospective video. Um, and my PlayStation 3 is in the living room now. As you can see, I'll show it to you guys really quick. There it is, my PS3. And the reason why it's here instead of in my bedroom is because my AV cable for the PlayStation 3 was giving out on me, and so I had to use my HDMI. And since I don't have an HD TV in my room, I had to bring it to the living room to play my PS3 games for the time being. So yeah, that explains the change in scenery. Now, so let's get on to this. Is the last day that the PlayStation 3 will be a current gen console because the PlayStation 4 comes out tomorrow. And so I wanted to share with you guys my memories of the PlayStation 3. Well, I stopped gaming during the 6th generation, which I regret doing now because there were so many good games that came out around that time. But the reason I stopped, there were several reasons. Number one, I was going out every night, every weekend. I was DJing. I started making music eventually. Just been hanging out and doing the whole music scene. And plus, I went through 2 cars. Also, one of my main gripes with gaming generations is that they don't last very long. Like, as soon as I would get a console, the next one would come out. And I'm like, what? I got to get a new one already? And that's what I loved about this generation, was that it lasted a lot longer. So we had more time to enjoy our gaming consoles this time around. And hopefully that will continue on to with next gen, but who knows? So yeah, I skipped the 6th generation. And the reason I wanted to get back into gaming was that gaming was starting to become more like films. I started after I went on my diet, I lost interest in music a bit, and I started watching movies a lot, and I started watching anime, and then I started watching gameplay videos on YouTube, and I thought, wow, video games are like movies. Wouldn't it be fun? I love the idea of playing a movie. And so, since a lot of games were going in that direction, I just decided, all right, I'll go back into gaming now. And so the reason I went with PS3 over Xbox 360 was I was still scared of red rings. I didn't know that Xbox fixed that issue with the Slim. All I knew was Xbox 360, red ring of death, I'm going PlayStation. And that's why I chose the PlayStation 3. So, Christmas of 2011, guess what I got? A PS3! And it was the Uncharted bundle. And it was 320 gigabytes, which is the most hard drive space that could come with a PlayStation 3 at the time before they released the Super Slim that had 500 gigabytes. And the first game I owned was Uncharted 3 because it was the Uncharted bundle. But the first game I bought, like the very next day, I went out and got Grand Theft Auto 4 and episodes from Liberty City because I always loved exploring open worlds. And now I got to do it from my home, so I was like, yes. Yeah, but I'll never forget that Christmas. It reminded me of Christmas of '94 when my sister and I got the Super Nintendo. It was like that all over again. At least it was for me. I watched my sister play on half of Uncharted 3 for the first day, and it was awesome. And I even had a girlfriend at the time, so I didn't really play my PlayStation 3 very much right away. But after my relationship with her ended, guess how I got through it? My PlayStation 3. I basically gamed my way through the breakup, and that's how I was able to get through the thing. So thank you, PlayStation. But, yeah, the games that I played a lot on there were SSX, mainly for the custom soundtracks. I played Skyrim on PlayStation 3 before I got it for 360, before I knew about the issues that it had. Of course, I played GTA 4 a lot. And I still go back to it sometimes, but not as much since 5 came out. But yeah, I also got a lot of sports games for, not a whole lot, but I got a few sports games for the PS3, and I would never actually play them. I would simply watch the computer play itself and watch it like it's a real game because I'm nerdy like that. That's what I did, and I did that with NBA 2K11, with MLB 08 The Show, Madden NFL 09s, and NHL 08. And I couldn't do it, sadly, with UFC Undisputed 2009, but the game was so easy that it didn't matter. And, yeah, the thing that I love about the PlayStation 3 is I feel like it is the most mature console of the 7th generation. What I mean by that is it's the exclusives for the PlayStation 3 tend to lean more towards mature ideas and themes or experimental ideas and themes. So, like, to me, Journey is just as mature as The Last of Us. Mature doesn't necessarily mean blood and gore and, content you don't want your kids to watch. It's stuff that adults can appreciate and admire and respect. And the exclusives the exclusives on PS3 really, I think, helped define. I think it's the greatest strength that the PlayStation 3 had was its exclusives. The Last of Us, Journey, David Cage games like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. The PlayStation and experimental stuff like Media Molecule stuff like Little Big Planet and Little Big Planet 2. It's the PlayStation just felt more grown up, more experimental, and that is the thing that I love about the PlayStation the most. Now let's talk about the things that I didn't like about PlayStation 3. And number one, the updates are longer than they are in the 360. So if you're buying a multi-plat, and there's a long-ass update for it, chances are on the 360 it's not going to take nearly as long. Also, some multi-plats weren't very good on PlayStation 3. Bayonetta is an example. Todd Howard games like Fallout 3 and the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I say Skyrim because Oblivion was ported over by a different team, and they did a better job than Bethesda themselves did on the PlayStation console. And that really hurt because I love Skyrim to death. That's one of my go-to games. That's one of the games I relax to a lot. And I had to re-get that game for 360 because of the issues on the PlayStation 3. So Todd Howard's team can never develop for that platform. And of course, the Orange Box is another thing that was ported over badly. The problem with the Orange Box and with Bayonetta, they were not ported over by the same development team. They were ported over by different development teams who sucked. And so the PlayStation 3 got inferior multiplats. So you had to be very careful which games you got. Even if it was a Game of the Year contender, you had to be careful with multiplats on the PlayStation 3. So that was my major regret. That was the reason I went with 360 was when I saw the frame rate comparisons for Mass Effect 3, I was like, that's it. I got to get an Xbox. I didn't want to get rid of my PlayStation 3 because there are so many good games on there that I do love and all that. But yeah, the inferior multiplats just were probably the biggest letdown. Obviously, most people would say it was the crash, but I didn't get my PS3 until after the crash happened, after it was over. So I thankfully avoided that. I dodged another bullet this year when I did not get a certain update that bricked a lot of consoles. And I was so grateful that I just didn't update that week, and it turns out I simply lucked out. And so I just waited until the update that fixed that came out, and now my PlayStation 3 has never bricked. Yay. So yeah, I consider the PlayStation 3 the most grown-up console of this generation, and I consider it the single-player console because it really was not optimized for online, as we know. The way that the 360 was. No cross-party chat. You cannot record a voice message. That was a disappointment. And not to mention my friends who own PlayStation 3s, most of them don't add me. I got like 2 to 3 friends on there now. The rest are pending and have not added me. Whereas on the 360, nearly all my friends on the 360 have added me, have accepted my friend requests. So the Xbox audience is much more social, I think, than the PlayStation audience. When you're on your PlayStation, you're probably going to want to play by yourself, and most people do. And as a single-player console, it is phenomenal. It's the most grown-up. It's a console you really want to invest a lot of time by yourself in. Just lock yourself in a room, and just absorb yourself in these worlds and these ideas. I mean, PlayStation was the most creative and the most mature in terms of exclusives, and the exclusives are really what are the biggest strengths of the PlayStation 3. It's so weird because at the beginning of this console generation, the 360 had better games, exclusive games, and now the PlayStation 3 does. And it's so weird now because now that the PS4 and the Xbox One are coming out, it looks like the roles have switched again. Because the lineup for exclusives on the Xbox One look better than the lineup for exclusives on the PlayStation 4. But again, that could change because you know Naughty Dog is going to do something. You know that David Cage is working on something. So, you know, the new Molecule is working on something. So, you know the good stuff is coming for PS4. And finally, I do have to, I do need to warn you guys really quickly. There are reportedly issues going on with PS4 with those who got the console early. So my advice, you might want to wait before getting a PS4, and we're waiting until these issues iron out, or buy the PS4 but don't open it yet until these issues are resolved, if they are. And also, there was an update that bricked some Vitas, so be careful with that too. So yeah, the PlayStation 4 had a lousy launch, but it definitely ended strong, and I am looking forward to the next generation of PlayStation. And that is it for my PlayStation retrospective. Join me next week. I will be doing an Xbox 360 retrospective. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you then. Take care. Hope your consoles work!